Okay, B'Shut Kala Kadosh, everybody welcome. B'Ezrat Hashem, yes, Baracha, Tzlacha, Briyut. V'gam this lecture is sponsored by Yaakov ben Asher. B'Ezrat Hashem, Hashem give him Baracha, Tzlacha. V'gam le'nu shmad le'aba shelo, Asher ben Ima Shalom. רוח השם תנחנו בגן הוא וכל השוכבים עמו בכלל רחמים והצליחות וכן ירצון ונאמר אמן. גם תברך את הקריר דניאל בן מיכאל, בעזרת השם זיווג הגון, פרנסה טובה, בריאות, הרבה נחת, תתחתן בשנה הזה, וגם סלמון בן נדיה, איגר בן נדיה, יורה בן נדיה, ברכה, הצלחה, בריאות, וכן ירצון ונאמר אמן. We continue our shiur. Thank you very much for coming. With the emunah. So we're learning right now when we're coming and gathering at nighttime. Thank you for everybody coming. Don't forget we have a kollel over here every Tuesday and Thursday from 8 to 9. And B'ezrat Hashem we'll do more and more with the community to be growing. One person brings another person, one person to another, and we're able to grow the community, kids, grandkids, and everybody else. And the Rambam says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave the nights for the Jewish people just for them to learn the Torah. Because during the daytime we're busy. During the nighttime everything is closed, almost. And we cannot do so much transaction. So, Gadol Tzchar Shel Asiyat Mitzvah Mitoch HaEmunah. He says, the biggest mitzvah when a person getting schar, rewarded, when we work in Hashem from the Emunah. באמת היה אדם יודע טעם המצוות, לא היה מגיע שום שכר על המצוות. If a person would know why a person does mitzvot, the reasoning what is it behind, what's the reward he's getting, in that moment he would not get a schar reward for the mitzvah that each time he does. כי היה מבין העונג הנפלא נמצא בו, הוא היה רץ אחרי כמו אחרי onagim she'en lahem erech lazeh. He says he will run after the mitzvah if he had a pleasure from mitzvah. Hello, we know most of us don't have a pleasure from mitzvah. Some of us have, but most of us don't have a pleasure. So our whole work to come to have a pleasure from mitzvah. So my job, each one of us job, when we do mitzvah, we need to have a pleasure to do mitzvah. So how are we able to learn the mitzvah? How we need to have the pleasure of the mitzvah? So we're able to learn Tariyak Mitzvot. There's a book, shortish of the book. Short, Kitzur, 630 mitzvot, what we have to know in the 630 mitzvot that it says in the Torah. So by knowing 630 mitzvot, if we, every day in the Shavuot, I teach everybody, my students, 630 mitzvot. It's about 25 pages. We go from beginning until the end. If a person continue doing this every day, there's a 25 pages. In the Sidur, in the Shavuot Sidur, you have Sefer HaMitzvot, Tariyak Mitzvot. And you have also a book. You have a book of Tariyak Mitzvot. The book called how many mitzvot is applicable right now in our time, and how many mitzvot not applicable. Why we need to know about the mitzvot first of all? The first of all we have to know the mitzvot. We're able to see what we're learning, we're able to practice it. But if we don't know the 630 mitzvot, how do I know do the mitzvah? I don't know. So how you do mitzvah? I don't know, I just do it because everybody know. But you keep going by the mitzvah, which means you practice it. Not you only would know how to do mitzvah, you're able to memorize each mitzvah. Like the first mitzvah it says, the first mitzvah. The second mitzvah it's a Brit Milah. The third mitzvah it's a Gidar Nasheh. The fourth mitzvah is a Korban Pesach. So the way we do mitzvah, like this we're able to learn about the mitzvah, and we're like this able to perform the mitzvah. So how many of us could raise hand over here and says, I went through the 630 mitzvot once in a life? But we're saying not once in a life. All the time lishonen, which means we all the time needs to review. If we don't review, how are we able to perform the mitzvah? Because the only way is going to give us the energy how to do mitzvah By reviewing the mitzvah, which just means going over the mitzvah. That's why I recommend everybody else, it's the better to know the mitzvah, memorizing it. Like this, all the time you're going to be thinking about to do mitzvah. Oh, if I don't do this mitzvah, wow, I'm going to miss on a mitzvah. But if a person does not know, that's it. He says, listen, I'm doing mitzvot, but there's a more mitzvot to do, and he does not do it. So what's going to happen? In the Shara Gilgulim, in the beginning of the Shara Gilgulim says, if a person does not do 630 mitzvot, he needs to come again to this world, and he needs to come Gilgul, which is reincarnation. And nobody wants to come again to this world to be reincarnated to do mitzvah. For example, a person has 4 girls and he does not have a boy. Listen, Hashem, that's the way he gave him. Does he needs to come Gilgul or no? That's the question. Because Machloket Bet Shammai Bet Hillel in Masechet Yevamot, you need to have 1 boy, 1 girl. Bet Shammai. Bet Hillel. Bet Shammai says you need 1 girl, 1 boy, 1 boy, 1 girl, which just means the 2nd generation. So what if a person, he would not mikayem mitzvah priya ulevia, which just means you need to get married and multiply, unless you have boy and girl. What if a person does not only have a girl or boy? He has only 4 boys or 3 boys or 7 boys. He doesn't have a girl. So what he does in this moment? So the Chazal, Arizal explained, when somebody have a boy and he does pidyon ben, and that boy, he says, that neshama comes to be part of him. So there's a certain mitzvah that's impossible to do. For example, it's a mitzvah to give a get. There's a chachamim that gave a get to the wife and take it back and did the ketubah again. It's a mitzvah. So ala alechem, should nobody get a get? It's a mitzvah. So if somebody does not learn it, so what is he saying? No, I don't know. Very important to do mitzvah. Saba Mikelim telling us that if we would know the schar, the reward of the mitzvah, we would not get the reward for it. So each one of us have to go Tariag mitzvot in order for, what's the first mitzvah? Like he said, Priya Urvia. What's the last mitzvah? The last mitzvah is writing the Sefer Torah. That's the last mitzvah. Like we learn in a Pele Rabbi Eliezer Papo, Pele Oetz, he says, if somebody is not doing the Sefer Torah, what if a person cannot afford it? Can't afford it, there's something else. But what if a person afford it and he does not do it? Even though the poskim, which it says, instead of you giving for Sefer Torah money, you should write books. You should give to Talmidei Chachamim, they're writing the books. So if the Talmidei Chachamim writing the books, that's the money you need to give. But the Rabbi Eliezer Papa brings the Zohar HaKadosh, says no. Even the poskim saying like this, but the Zohar HaKadosh says, if a person does not do one of the 630 mitzvot, he will come Gilgul to this world and he needs to come again, God forbid. So where it says in Rabbi Eliezer Papa, in Od Samech, which is means Sefer. Moshe en ken achare oneg bilti tachlid. Lachen astir HaKadosh Baruch Hu ta'ameh mitzvot. That's why HaKadosh Baruch Hu, what he did, he hid the reasoning why the mitzvot we're doing it. What does it mean? Like we explained before. Also we have to learn, we cannot be mitzvat anashim milumudah, which is means why I'm doing mitzvah, I don't know. I just do it because I got used to it. So the Chachamim says, you cannot do like this mitzvah. Why? Because right now you got used to mitzvah. So you need to learn about the mitzvah in order for you to be attached to the mitzvah. If we're not attached to the mitzvah, for us mitzvah it's like a burden, weight. Okay, I did the mitzvah, I want to get away. No, if we understand the reasoning where it says the pasuk, for example, we have to do natilat yadayim. Why we have to do natilat yadayim in the morning? For prime example. I don't know, I do it. But where it says in the Torah, we have to do natilat yadayim. V'rachatzu et yadehem v'raglechem. They were the Kohanim. So you learn from Kohanim. But we're not Kohen, I'm not Kohen, you're not Kohen. So what if I'm not Kohen? So do I have to do it or not? Then the Chazal says no. At nighttime when you go to sleep, in Masechet Shabbat, in Kufchet, and also in Masechet Chulin, he says, if you nighttime you're going to sleep, Bata Shifta, he says the negative force inside the hand, negativity, which is means Tumah, that Tumah you need to take it out. So how are you able to take out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? You make the tumah weaker. So why you don't do raglaim? Why you only do yadayim? That's a question. We don't know. So why are you doing it? I do it. That's called you're not attached to the mitzvah. You're doing it just because to do it. Each mitzvah, we have to learn it in order for us to become connected to it. But if we're not learning it, how are we able to connect? Very important. So a lot of people, okay, we're going to talk about Baruch She'amar in the Siman Nun Aleph in the Shulchan Aruch. How many of us know what is the Baruch She'amar is? Oh, Rabbi, I learned it, long time ago, 20 years ago. Did you go back? No. We need to go back. It says whoever does the Baruch She'amar with the singing, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he gets connected to it. But if a person does it just to do it, he's forgetting, correct? We tend to forget. So that means we all the time, we cannot say to the Torah, oh, I already learned it. If we're going to ask the question, you already learned, can you say it? I don't say it. I don't know how to say it. That means you haven't learned it. So it's very important to get connected to the mitzvah. And the way we're able to connect to the mitzvah, by learning the mitzvah, the reasoning, why is it happening? Sometimes it would not make sense to us. Mitzvah, sometimes it does not make sense. Just because it does not make sense to you, it doesn't mean that you don't have to do it. It's very important whether it's going to make... Yosef, can you shut it off, please? Yosef, shut it off, please. Whether you're going to make a mitzvah, whether you're going to like it, whether you don't like it, we're still obligated to do it. That's the first thing you need to put in your head. So whether you're going to do the mitzvah, whether you're not going to do the mitzvah, you're still obligated to do the mitzvah. Sometimes when we learn the mitzvah, we say, I don't understand it. I'm not going to do it. How many of us, I said halacha, for prime example, there's a halacha of tzitzit, there's a halacha of tefillin, and you say, I'm not ready. Or it's not the time now. But it's a mitzvah. You're missing every day, every single day, you're missing on a mitzvah. God knows you're going to make it, not make it. Nobody knows. Correct? There was a time I supposed to be put on a person tzitzit on Friday. Friday was a Friday. Talit katan. Talit katan. You know what I said to myself? Friday I'm busy, too much. Have to do shopping, take care of the family. I'm going to do Motzei Shabbat. I want to give tzitzit, Motzei Shabbat to this person. Clear, right? Motzei Shabbat came in and he passed away. Could not give a mitzvah tzitzit. If I would have given him on Friday, he would have did it on Friday. At least he would have go with that mitzvah of tzitzit. But he never was sick. He wasn't sick. He just died, heart attack. So that's Motzei Shabbat. There's only one day different. But we saying, I'm not ready for it. What if that situation happens? And you go without mitzvah. If I would have been at that time, you would have been in a spot. So very important, when we do something, we don't leave it. We cannot say, listen, I'm not ready, I'm not prepared. There's no such thing, you're not ready, you're never going to be prepared, and you're never going to be ready. Because the person's mind is all the time, is so many ideas, he's so confused. So that's why the Chazal puts us in a checkpoint. In the Shira Shirim, in the last perek, we were sitting. Can I have a Siddur? Please? So, no, right here, I have it. So it says, So it says in וימינו תחבקני, השבעתי אתכם בנות ירושלים, מה תאירו ומה תעוררו, עד שהאהבה, עד שתחפץ. What means עד שתחפץ? אהבה. שהאהבה עד שתחפץ. Ramban saying that right now you have a desire to do mitzvah, don't leave it for next moment or for tomorrow. So, over here explaining, when a mitzvah came to you, the Shira Shirim says, so we were sitting and learning with Rav Tzadka. And we're learning about Rav Eliyahu Mani. Rav Eliyahu Mani was the teacher of Ben Ish Chai, so says was the student, then became Chaverim. Rav Eliyahu Mani was living in Hebron. So we're learning about him in a Petach Enaim, Chadash, Rav Shraya Diblitsky. And I said, listen, you know so many Talmidei Chachamim, you light the candle for them and everything like that. I said, did you ever light the candle for Rav Eliyahu Mani? I personally said I never also light it. In the middle of learning, we're sitting. He says, wait. The Pasuk in the Tehillim says, Ad shetichpatz, which means if the Ratzon came right now to you, don't leave it. He went in the middle of learning, we were learning. There's nothing better than learning. He went in the middle, got a little candle, got a lighter, and the light, B'schut, Rav Eliyahu Mani, Sh'tuchto yagen alenu, amen. And that's what he took. In the middle. You understand? In the middle of learning, sitting, already comfortable, you don't feel like getting up. So that calls, if the mitzvah came to you, don't leave it for tomorrow, because how are you going to put this verse in effect? The verse needs to be in an effect. So it's very important to do the mitzvot right away in a time. Because we in a brain saying, no, I have time. I don't know. Listen, nobody knows what's going to happen another day, another tomorrow. Nobody knew in Turkey, 4 p.m. it's going to be earthquake. Nobody knows. 42,000 people gone. Nobody knows. Nobody knows what the effect was the corona happening. The whole shul closed. And that's it. No opportunities. How many people? 22,000 Jews only passed away in the United States. They were new? They did not know. You understand? So things could happen in life. Why leave it for tomorrow? Where we could able to do the mitzvot and not able to leave it for tomorrow. So that's what he says. Every mitzvah we have to believe that Hashem said it, and we have to do it ve'emunah to believe on Him. He says when he does the mitzvot without understanding what's the reward of it, he says his schar, his reward, there's no beginning and end on it. He says inside the mitzvah, you have the pleasure to do the mitzvah. And emunah inside the mitzvah. And tachlit is a kola Torah kulo. He says there's no bottom line for the Torah. There's no bottom line for the Torah. And person should never, in Ammon, the nation, is all the time, simple people say, don't go inside the Torah. There's no beginning and end. Beautiful. Beautiful. We don't need end. When you have an end, you have a depression. You bought the house, you build in a house. You want something else. You want more. Something else. It does not fulfill you. Something not fulfill you. That means there's always you're looking for end. In Torah, that's the beauty of the Torah. There's no end. It's all the time something new. So if we're learning Torah, something new. Whatever I learned yesterday, it's something else today. Whatever I'm going to learn tomorrow is something else yesterday. And it's going to be chidushim all the time. Just a little bit brain. Just needs to a little bit shake the brain. And that's it. But we should never look for the end. Because we come from Ein Sof Baruch Hu. We come from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There's no beginning and end. Can anybody could say HaKadosh Baruch Hu has beginning and end? Af echad. There's nobody in this world could say HaKadosh Baruch Hu has beginning and end. So he says, because we come, B'Tselem Elokim Nivra et Adam, we created in the image of the Hashem, because we created. That's why we're not supposed to look at the end. We used to continue. That's what the Torah says. That's what the Hashem says. We're emunah, we're going. Tam gadol she'onesh chisaron emunah. What if a person says, I believe, but no action? How many of us says, oh, I believe Hashem in my heart? Kol hakavod lecha. Ma, kol hakavod. He's a pashut, yes. He's a Yehudi tov, כמו שאנחנו אומרים. We say, he's a good Jew. Correct? He's a good Jew. He doesn't steal. He doesn't speak Lashon Hara. Nachon? But he contradicts whatever the Torah says. In Perek Vav, Pasuk Hey, in a Bereshit, Yetzer Rev Adav, La'aminu Rav, a person born already, Kol HaMachshavot Ram, Kol Hayom, he's bad and his thoughts and his heart is bad. So I created Yetzer Hara, I created Barak Tavlin Torah, I created the remedies, the Torah. I just spoke to him and I said in Baba Batra, he says, 3 things person desire. Person, nature. Gilui Arayot, having a relationship with another woman. Lashon Hara. So a person says, I'm a good Jew. The only way you're able to be a good Jew is by applying what the Torah says. But if he's not going according to he might have midot tovot in somewhat. Maybe he would have derech eretz. Maybe he could stand up in front of elderly people. Maybe some, because he was born like this. But the rest of the things, Adam Mushchat. A person is a destroyer. We thinking, no, he's a great tzaddik. So what's the point of learning Torah if you could do with the tzaddik without being Torah? En davar ba'olam. Sheker v'chazam. There's no lie like we lie to ourselves. And he says, listen, I never cheat, I never lie. Betach you never cheat, you never lie. En adam roye chova le'atzmo. A person does not see his negative characters and traits. Betach ata lo. Whoever is going to jail, lo alechem v'al kol amo Yisrael. You ask anybody in jail, why are you sitting here? I'm not guilty. Nobody is guilty. So why are you here? I don't know. It was a mistake. Okay, the judge made 10 mistakes, but not everybody else mistake. Do you understand? So we thinking in our brains, no. So he says, Tam godel onesh chisaron emunah. What a person gets emunah, he does not have emunah. What means emunah? Emunah, which means, Saba Mikelim telling us, we need to feel it. What means emunah? So if a person never learns about emunah, how can he have an emunah? How are we able to say? לכן קשה מאוד עוון חיסרון אמונה. He says it's very, very קשה עוון. It's one of the sins, big sins, if somebody does not have אמונה. כי נקל מאוד להאמין אמונתו מפני הפרסום הרב, הניסים הגלויים לעין עד היום הזה, להבין הפלגת קיום תורתנו בין העמים. לכן כמה נקל לאדם לשבור תאוותו. Avon onish yoter gadol. He says the reason he does not want to have an emunah because he does not want to break his desires. He wants ta'avot, ratzonot. Because that ta'ava is not giving him the emunah. Between him, connection with Hashem. Because he has so much ta'avot. He's inside the ta'avot so much, you cannot break it. Like I was driving here, and he's talking to me, and he says, I'm going to shiur. And he was, whatever happened over there, he broke up with his girlfriend, he was dating her, and he says, listen, I spent too much money on her, and I said, so what are you doing now? He says, listen, today was Valentine's Day, 14th of February, we're supposed to go out, I gave her presents, we're already dating for 1 year, what do you do? So what can I do? You already lost all the money, you can't cry now. Obviously, you don't go according to the Torah. If you would have went according to the Torah, we don't spend so much money on a girl 1 year and you don't even know if you're getting married. 3, 4, big short, 3, 4 times you meeting, and depends on a case. Yes, yes, no, no. Mamshechim Allah, going forward. Who told you to get attached 1 year? Who told you to spend the money on her? Who told, at nighttime I don't feel good, that during the daytime I feel good? Yeah, because you're alone, that nighttime you spend time with her. Me Hashem Bazeh, whose fault is this? Yours. You didn't go according to the Torah. So I said, what are you doing right now? He said, so I'm going to go learn with the Chavruta from 8 to 9 in some shul. I said, yes, but obviously you're learning, you're not applying. You don't know how to apply, so that means you're not learning. The whole point of learning to apply. Next time, don't make, he says, listen, I thought she's going to be my wife and everything. They're young. He said, listen to me. You taught many things, but he knows what's best for you, for me, for anybody in this world more than we know that is better for us. No, but I love her. I said, the love only comes when you're going to have kids. I'm going to see that love. It's not called love. It's just the attachment. That's the human attachment. And that's what we say, we cry, you know, how come? Hashem, how come? What's that, how come? You understand? Practical. Very important, we're learning to be practical. Not just the learning, having information. Practical is the key to success. And yada yada, there's all the time, there's a problem and a problem and a problem. להבין הפלגת קיום תורתנו בין העמים, לכן כמה שנקל אדם לשבור תאוותו ועוון עונש יותר גדול. He says a person, the more he does not break his taiva, his desires, the more punishment he's getting. So don't feel sorry if you have in shiur 10, 15 people, in some shiur you have 100 people. The difference is you want to come and you want to break your rotzonot, your desires and wills. Other shiurim, because I see it. Say, you go to shiur, you learn Gemara 5 years. You come to pray late. Masechet Barachot, you learn, yes. You pass by the person, you're not supposed to be passed by while I was praying. You're doing it, yes you do. So what's the point you learning it? The whole point of learning it, to apply it. Why did you learn it? I want to be Talmid Chacham. But Talmid Chacham, in order for you to be, you need to apply it. Right now, whatever we're learning, we need to apply it. But if we don't apply it, what's the point of learning? Do you have a teacher? No, I don't. So how can you learn something if you don't have a teacher? So don't forget, everybody sitting here, the most important thing, to apply it. Not just to learn it. Not just to, sometimes you see the video, the rabbi talks about Shalom Bayit, and he talks about the husband and the wife. So the wife sends the video to the husband, look what he said about you. And the husband right now hears about him, look what, we're already adults. Have a little bit chokhmah. Correct? Shalom Bayit is, it's not what, well, look what he's thinking about you, what is he said about you. He said this part, look what kind of wife she has to be. The husband says, look what kind of husband is. We're not our kids. We're the adults. Soon we're going to be a grandkids. But this continue happening. And this is continue happening and continue happening. When is it going to stop? When we're really going to say we want to change. And the biggest mistake that we're making, that we embarrass, parents embarrass, husband embarrass the wife, and wife is embarrass the husband. Don't forget, you thinking you're doing against your wife, or you're doing against your wife doing against her husband. You're going to do against your kids. They're going to use it tomorrow against you, and you're going to be so regretting, you have no idea. You thinking you're taking your kids in control and doing that, that's why it says in a Perek Ben Sorer Umorer, which just means that the rebellious child, if the parents, V'lo shama b'kolo aviv v'imo, he did not hear the voice of the father and the mother, who rebellious child. Why? Because the call, which is Lashon Yachid, he does not hear the parents' voice, which is the parents all the time blame each other. When they blame each other, Neibach case, unfortunately, the parents thinking the Chachamim, let me put my kids against my wife. The wife says, let me put the kids against my husband. You don't understand how much you're putting the kids against each other. That's a klal. This is a rule. We're not going to be winners. We're thinking we're winners. We're not going to be winners. Believe me, we're not going to be winners. And this is baduk and menuseh. This is 100% guarantee whatever I'm telling you. Because I'm a parent myself and I know how does it work. And I know how kids are manipulating the situation. Because they are still young, but they're manipulating. So a person has to be very, very careful. That's why then you hear all these problems. Hala. האמונה בבריאה העולם. המפורסמת אין צריכים ראייה. So he says, the world is created. You believe the world is created? Yes. כל הלשונות של אומות העולם קוראים לשבת שבת. He says, look at Shabbat, one thing. Why did Shabbat called Shabbat? He says, all the lashonot, which means you take any languages, 70 languages, Shabbat called Shabbat. Why? Just made up name? הרי שכולם עונים ואומרים כי שבת שהקדוש ברוך הוא והשבת אחרי חידוש העולם. So הקדוש ברוך הוא, he rested on the seventh day. The whole world knows this. היש מפורסם יותר מזה? You would understand there's something הקדוש ברוך הוא have to do extraordinary and something big in this world. Shabbat. Everybody knows. משה אין כן שיסבו בכל שבוע לשמור את שבת, כל פרטיה. ויש מפורסם מזה שאין צריכים ראיה. He says, you don't need to prove that Hashem created this world. Just to look at Shabbat. And he says, everybody knows what the Shabbat is. Shabbat is, which means HaKadosh Baruch Hu rest. And that's why he gives you Shabbat, Shabbat v'nafash. How much proof you need more than that, he says? If Shabbat, we're keeping the Shabbat. Why do we keep the Shabbat? Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu rested on the seventh day. If he rested on the seventh day, that means we already see HaKadosh Baruch Hu. No, אף פעם לא חשבנו על זה, נכון? We never taught just from the word of Shabbat, and we keep Shabbat, we see over there HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Okay, Shabbat, we can pray. Listen, the rabbi said Rasha, we said it, some of us fall asleep, some of us is snoring, some of us is listening, but Shabbat, he says, this is the proof that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world. You have to put this. אין עדות ברורה כי מפורסמת למעיין בהם, בפרט כי הם חיים וקיימת עד היום. שבת חיים וקיימים. He says Shabbat is alive, is given as a life. בכל שביעים לשון שבת נקרא לשון הקדוש, והחקרתי בדבר כי כיום הזה. He says, I made a research, and Shabbat is considered in all the languages. Okay, I understand if God forbid this nation made a mistake, what's mean Shabbat? But Shabbat, which is means we believe in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that He created the world. Sivra pshuta. He says, האמונה פשוטה מאוד. He says, אמונה is so simple. רק לעיין היטב בשכלו. He says, all you have to do is think a little bit in your mind, little bit. ראשית, אם יאמר לא עלנו אדם, כי מחד הקל הזה, אשר ראשו חד וסופו נקוב, עשה את עצמו בלי אומן. If somebody gonna come to us and tell us, Yosef, we have a needle. This needle has at the end, it has a needle, it could poke, and at the top it has a hole. But it has no creation. Do you believe in that? He has no creation. בלי אומן, הרי צחוק עשנו לנו השוטה המדבר הזה. He says, whoever telling us, whoever created this needle, it was created by himself. And we're all going to say this guy is a shoite. What's mean shoite? He's a crazy. למה? משוגע יחשוב לנו. We're going to think he's a משוגע. He's not normal. אם כן יאמר לנו על כלי מורה שעוד הגלגלים. So let's say he says, you have a watch. And he says the watch was created by himself. What are you going to think about that person? משוגע. מה יש שם? כולנו עושים את עצמנו בלי כוונת אומן, מעשה אומן, הלא יותר צחוק יהיה לנו. He says the way we're going to say the more was created in this world without the uman, without the profession, like a construction guy. We're going to say he created this Bet Knesset, but we're going to say this not construction guy, he created by itself. It developed by itself. What are you going to say? The more we're going to talk about, the more schok the more laugh we're going to get created from everything that we say. We say the chairs that we're sitting was created by himself. But he says somebody created us. Uman. וכל שכן העולם מלא בחוכמה וגבורה. This world is full of wisdom and a power. מעצמו נעשה היה צחוק יותר. The more we're going to say the world was created by himself, the more you're going to laugh. מי זה? העולם הגלגלים, מה הסתכלו חכמים בהם על ידי טלסקופים. He says we're going to take to the telescopes. We're going to look the whole world. We're going to look at the planets. מבהיל גודלם וסדרם נפלא. He says we will be so amazed how HaKadosh Baruch Hu created this world. יש מסודר בלי הסדר? He says you have somebody מסודר. What means מסודר? He says you have organized things without somebody organizing it. It's impossible. הוא השם יתברך אשר סידר סדרם, כי הוא ברא אותם וסידר כרצונו, המנהיג על ידם עולמו כרצונו. He says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world. He's the one who's make the seder, organizing it, and he's able to continue to organize the world and continue connecting us to him. ידענו כולנו, אם יש עמלנו ויגענו כל חכמי העולם, לחבר כנף זבוב קטן. Says, let's take everybody, which just means all the scientists, all the chachamim, and we're going to say there's a fly, but he has no wing, broken wing. Can they put this wing together to the fly? Littlest thing. לא יכלו. מי זה ברא כל אלו? עם הטבע. He says, who created all this? Nature? שיכול דבר לעשות מעצמו בחוכמה? He's able to do by himself from the חוכמה, from the knowledge and the wisdom. מרובה ועמוקה ועצומה בלי הכר. Without somebody is creating him. כמו הטבע. It's like a nature. אשר כמה אלפים שנה, ככל יודעים, חוקרים, רק תכלית ידילה שלא נודע. He says, the way scientists, the more they deep, the more things that they don't know. The more the deep they go, the more things that they don't know. אם בעצמו נעשו זאת, it happened by itself. האמר זאת איש שוגה ופתי הוא. אין בעולם הזיד דמיונות יותר מזה. If a person thinking that everything created by himself, he says he's only imagining. It's so b'dimyonot. Dimyonot, which just means he's imagining. And he says that's not true. And he says over here, the punchline is the Borei Olam created this world, and that's the only way we're able to connect through his emunah and everything that he does. בעזרת השם, השם שהוא give us ברכה, הצלחה, ששון ושמחה, בריאות, הרבה נחת, וכן יהי רצון ונאמר אמן. תודה רבה על ההקשבה.